Okay, so good morning, everyone. And we are Parkinson's team. I'm Carolina. I'm a pediatric neurologist and movement disorder specialist, and I'm also an IMS student for master program. And the programmers for this project is Akshata and Christopher. So Parkinson's disease is a common neurodegenerative disorder that can present with really bothersome motor symptoms, and the main one is bothersome tremor. And patients with Parkinson's disease have frequent fluctuations in their tremor, and objective information may help physicians to perform more precise changes in their patient management. So Parkinson's will continuously and objectively measure tremors in Parkinson's disease patients.
So as you can see, we divided the software into three main components: the medication diary, the objective tremor assessment, and the summary report. As seen on the left, the user is able to input their medication information into their medical diary, which is then stored in the medical information database online. Moving on to the objective side to the right, the tremor assessment component extracts accelerometer measurements of the phone and stores them in local memory for Parkinson's to detect whether a tremor occurs. At the bottom, the summary report combines the medical diary and the objective tremor assessment into a single file, allowing the user to email it to their physician. But enough talk about the software, let's actually show it in action.
Okay, so let me introduce you my patient. So Miss Parker is a lovely 65-year-old lady. She was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 5 years ago. So did you know that patients with Parkinson's disease needs to take multiple medications throughout the day, making it very hard for them to remember, as well as problems with compliance? So let's ask Miss Parker to demonstrate how our app can help with this function.
Hello everyone, my name is Parka and this is my profile information that you see after I log in. When I click on a medication list, you can look at all my medications that are recommended to me by my doctor, along with the dosage and time. So I don't have to remember all these details. I can always add a new medication by clicking on the add button, choosing a medication, entering a dose and selecting a time, let's say 1 hour from now, and save it. You can see the new medication appears in the list according to the time. This is a one-time process and it sets a daily reminder on my phone reminding me to take my medications from time to time. I can always delete this medication in case there is a change in my prescription. I can also view and log all my details by clicking on the medical schedule for all 7 days. As you can see here, the medications which are upcoming appears in gray and the medication that has passed appears in red. I can log it by simply clicking on it. The info collected here can help my doctor to understand the effect of my medicines on my tremors and alter them accordingly.
So did you know that patients with Parkinson's disease have a very bothersome fluctuating tremor, and it's very hard for them to remember a large amount of information and to describe it to their physician, as well as get objective information for their tremor. So let's see from Ms. Parker how our app can help with this function.
So to monitor my tremors, I can go to the tremor display and now you can look at my video. When I rhythmically move my phone, it says the tremor has been detected and it changes the status when I stop moving it. I can view my history for 24 hours by clicking on the 24-hour history. You can see the regular movements are depicted in blue and the tremors in orange. I can also have a look at my amplitude average and amplitude range. Similarly, I can monitor my 7-day history by clicking on this option. After I'm done tracking these details, I can always go. I would like to send this information to my doctor. In the profile section, I can go to the view summary report option where you can see my medication, the graphs and medical logs, and I can send this information to my doctor. Once I confirm this, you can see all my information, including the report, automatically populates, so I can send this information effortlessly. After sending the email, I can return back to my profile by clicking on this option, and now you'll see what happens on my doctor's end.
Okay, so let me share my screen one more time and go into my email. So on my email information, we can see that the report arrived and it's clearly stated the name of the patient as well as the dates. So let me show what I can learn from this report. So on the first page, we can see all the information and all the medications that's been prescribed to my patient. And now let me walk you through 3 possible clinical scenarios. So as you can see here, Ms. Parka had tremor and then took her medication as stated here in green. So this is the ideal scenario when tremor appears, we give the patient the medication and tremor disappears. Now have a look at this clinical scenario. So in this case, we can see that Ms. Parka forgot to take her medication in the middle of the day, and this is what caused the continuation of the tremor. So in this scenario, I will recommend her to be more compliant with medication and not to forget to take the midday dose. The last clinical scenario that I'm going to show you is this one. So as you can see here, Ms. Parka was compliant with her medication. She actually took them on time, but there's additional tremor that's appeared towards the end of the day when no medications were scheduled. So in this circumstances, I would add another dose of medication to help her manage her evening tremors. So now let me go back to our presentation. And in our presentation, Chris is going to demonstrate how our tremor detection algorithm works.
So after some literature review, we found that tremors are typically characterized by movement in the 4 to 8 hertz range. So using a signal processing technique called the fast Fourier transform, Parkinsense converts accelerometer measurements from its time representation to its frequency one. It then applies a threshold to determine how much power of the signal is actually found within that 4 to 8 hertz range. On the slide, we can see 2 sample transformations where the one at the top corresponds to no tremor, while the one at the bottom does. Next.
So now I'm going to talk about the future capabilities of our app. So Parkinsense in the future will be able to detect other motor features of patients with Parkinson's disease, and more specifically slowness of movement, or what we call bradykinesia. Also, we're planning to connect the Parkinsense to the external accelerometers instead of accelerometers within the phone. We can add direct communication between the patient and the physician as another option, as well as connecting this app to other technologies that have been developed during the last decade to help patients with Parkinson's disease as deep brain stimulation.
So we learned a lot during the project. First of all, working in a team in an online setting was definitely a challenge for us. We also learned a lot about user interface design, which especially applied to us since we wanted to make sure everything was clearly visible for seniors who may have vision issues. We also gained a lot of knowledge in how to prepare demonstrations. And in terms of software, we learned several digital signal processing techniques for our tremor assessment algorithm, and also learned that third-party libraries can sometimes be risky to use. So thank you for listening to our presentation on Parkinsense, and we invite any further questions.